Black Widow is the MCU's triumphant return to the box office after multiple delays due to the shutdowns and the pandemic, as well as three extremely well received Disney Plus limited series. We had WandaVision, we had Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then the recently wrapped up Loki, which were all supposed to be released after Black Widow, which was going to be the official kickoff for Marvel's Phase 4 of the MCU. That didn't happen, obviously. A lot of plans changed, a lot of things had to be adjusted. So we're finally getting the first Marvel movie back in theaters in over a year. And as Kevin Feige said, Marvel makes movies for, packed audiences to watch in a theater. Like, they're made to be these big experiences. Now, the shows, the limited series, really translated the Marvel formula and storytelling well, I thought, to TV and to streaming. But, that said, there's still nothing like seeing a big Marvel movie in a theater. So on that end, Black Widow is awesome. It's really cool to be back. It's cool to see the character Natasha Romanoff get more to do and finally get a little bit of backstory. But the problem is it kind of just feels like too little too late. And that's not to slight anyone that was involved with the production. Cate Shortland directed the film. It was written by Eric Pearson, and the story came from Ned Benson and Jock Schaefer, who was recently in charge of WandaVision. So you can see all of the, the work going into this character and into making this movie, like doing Black Widow justice after, years of being kind of neglected, kind of pushed to the side. She had some weird storylines that were highly ill-advised and controversial at the time. There was the whole love story with the Hulk in Age of Ultron. There was the whole speech she gave about how, like, having a forced hysterectomy as a teenage spy in Russia made her a monster. Like, there was some ill-advised stuff. She was a lot has been made about how sexualized the character was over the years. And this movie really sets out and tries hard to undo all of that. And unfortunately, the thing that it can't undo is the fact that we know that after this movie is over and in the timeline of Marvel stuff, she is going to, sacrifice herself for the boys, basically, to help the Avengers defeat Thanos once and for all in Endgame. So it's a little tough to watch this and be fully, into it. It's hard to not have a sense of like, well, this is, too little too late. Because the quality of this movie is wonderful. It follows the events between Captain America Civil War and the start of Avengers Infinity War, and finds Black Widow returning home and getting wrapped up in a mission that she thought she had completed long ago, and she has to reunite with her old adopted family essentially, and work through those issues of a family that was a lie because it was all a cover as they were Russian moles in America. And then basically her and her sister Yelena were just pushed to the side and left by the wayside by who they thought were their parents. And there's a lot of good drama in there. The opening scene before the credits and everything is like one of the best, I think, of any Marvel movie. I mean, I think my favorite still is the start of Guardians of the Galaxy 1. But this is up there in sequences, just in terms of like the way the suspense builds, the way it pays off, just everything about it is a really engaging way to start this movie. The hand-to-hand fights in particular, there's one between Black Widow and Yelena when they first reconcile and meet up again, that is just brutal. It's like a brutally staged fight, and I don't know if it's because the rise of movies like John Wick and those types of movies that like really emphasize hand-to-hand fighting and choreography, but like this really felt different from a normal superhero movie. Like even the fights with the Taskmaster didn't feel like typical Marvel fights. Like of course, the first act you get this really good type of like, I can't say full spy thriller or like espionage type movie like you kind of felt with Captain America Winter Soldier. But this movie stands out so decidedly from the rest of the MCU because, Black Widow isn't a superhero. Like she's a superhero, but she's not like super powered. So it's way more grounded in reality. Like it still has some fantastical things and it still has some, superhero comic book types of flares, but overall it's a much more like realistic approach. And I think that helps it a lot. And then the second half of the movie kind of gets, caught up in the Marvel recipe. And so you kind of lose a little bit of steam as it gets towards that like CGI grand finale. Another thing I was worried about is, it took me a little while to see it. I'm getting married in November, and so my fiance and I were, out all weekend basically doing this and that, trying to get things prepared, and so we didn't get the chance to see it until earlier this week. And one thing I kept hearing like, man, Florence Pugh and David Harbour really steal the show. Like they really make this movie. And usually, like when I hear that a bunch, and like have to wait to see whatever the movie is, I'm let down. Usually, like in my head, I've built it up too much. I've heard so much praise. I've heard, all these high praise from all these people. Everybody saying, "Oh, they stole it." This was an instance where that, I heard a lot, and I was really nervous that it was gonna just be like, yeah, they were good. But no, they were absolutely as advertised. Florence Pugh, it's awesome that the MCU has her. The MCU would be smart to go back on what they said about not doing long contracts anymore and just lock her in now for as long as they possibly can, because this is like when Jennifer Lawrence got signed on to do the X-Men movies, like X-Men First Class and all of those, and then she exploded into a megastar with the Hunger Games like 2 months later, and they were like, we have this crazy talented high profile actress. Like it feels like Florence Pugh is on the same type of trajectory as far as like just blowing up. So the fact that Marvel had her in here and had the wherewithal to get her in this movie and cast her is great. And now they just need to take advantage of it for as long as they can, because she's going to be a very talented actress for a very long time to come. She's wonderful as Elena. It's going to be really valuable to Marvel going forward if they keep her around, like so many people are saying they will. Rachel Weisz is in this as well as the mother figure to the family, and she didn't quite get as much to do as everyone else. But like just seeing Rachel Weisz in a Marvel movie, just like kicking tons of ass was a nice welcome sign. I know this is what they wanted as the start to Phase 4, and they didn't get the chance to do it. But even still, like as other shows like WandaVision and Loki kind of start to branch out towards like the MCU multiverse or something, like this is a really grounded companion to go along with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Really liked it. I really thought it was worth seeing in theaters. We did also end up getting it on Disney Plus Premiere Access, so I'm sure I'll watch it again soon. I don't know where I would put this as far as like all-time Marvel movie rankings. Like probably have to watch it again, like stare at a list of all of the movies, kind of figure it out that way. But I just know that this was an entertaining movie that tried very hard to do justice to this character that we've seen for so long, that has been neglected by a lot of these bigger movies and has gotten the short end of the stick a lot of the time. So the love and the adoration that everyone involved has for Black Widow is very apparent. And, it's a bummer that it took them this long to give her a solo movie, because now the solo movie was such high quality, it's a bummer that we don't get to have more of these. Like, we don't get to see another spy thriller with her and the family in 2 more years, in another 2 or 3 years. Like, so in that instance it's a little bittersweet, but overall I would definitely give this like a B plus. I think the jokes land more often than not. I think the action sequences are very cool. The Taskmaster stuff I wasn't as upset about as I know a lot of people were. I thought it all kind of fit within the flow and the beats of the story, and up until the third act, the Taskmaster stuff was just pretty badass. Like, I can't lie. It was just cool to watch the Taskmaster have fights. And like it was not enough. It was not enough Taskmaster as far as I was concerned. That's my thoughts. I would love to hear what you thought about the movie. Please in the comments let me know where it ranks for you in Marvel movies, what you liked or didn't like about it. And yeah, thank you for watching. I will be back soon.